I'm not sure who this is for, but I know it's for someone who's struggling and going through a difficult moment now. I want you to know in life rain will fall, but God will cover you right in the midst of your storm.
It's raining now.
I know it's raining,
but don't keep your head down.
Lift up your head.
Things will work out.
It's going to work out.
Things will work out. They'll work out.
I promise you.
It's been a little rough.
I know it's been rough.
And you feel like giving up.
Don't you do it.
But things will work out.
It's gonna work out.
It will work out.
Let me sing about it. Many late night tears, struggling with all kinds of fears, wondering if God or anyone else hears. But Jesus is working on your behalf, and I guarantee it won't last. Things will work out.
It's raining now.
Oh, it's raining now.
Don't keep your head down.
Don't keep your head down.
Will work out.
Gonna work out. Yes, they will.
Will work out.
Oh.
It's been a little rough.
I know it's been rough.
Like giving up.
Don't give up.
Things will work.
Don't you do it. Things will work out.
Work out.
Come on, Dave.
You may have had shattered dreams, promises unfulfilled. Asking God, is this really your will? But just hold to his hand and watch him reveal his plan. Oh, things will work out. Things will work out.
I believe.
Yeah. Things are gonna get better, y'all. Oh, for it's written, and I read it for myself. In the Bible, there's for I very well believe that you are saved. Just trust that things will work out. Whatever you're facing, whatever you're going through, things will work out. Yeah, whatever it is, give it to him and things will work out. Yeah. Listen. Pastor Sam, I'm reminded of a Bible verse that my mama used to quote to me.
Oh, yeah.
And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. And I want to stand with you today and let somebody know that things will work out.
Things will
Work out, yes they will.
work out. Yes, they will.
Things will work out.
Yes, they will.
Yes, they will. Somebody else to say things will
work out.
Oh, yes it will.
Whatever you're going through,
He's working it out for your good.
yes,
yeah.
it will.
Things will work out.
No, it will.
No, it will.
Things will work out.
They will. Things will.
It's gonna work out. Yes, it will.
Yes, they will.
Oh, yes, it will.
Yes, they will.
Gotta believe.
Yes, they will. Yeah.
Gotta believe.
amazing day and opportunity to see you all and to share some things with you that I think is going to be pertinent. Of course, do me a favor, make sure you are sharing this, make sure you are telling as many people as you can to subscribe to this channel. If you have not subscribed yet, what's up with you? Subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can get notified every time a new session is going on. I want to talk today and perhaps pose a question to you that is really necessary for you to gain some perspective as we're getting ready to go into a new season, a new chapter, and a new year. And the question is, why aren't you pursuing your dreams? Most dreamers are usually ridiculed by people who have no dream or who've given up on their dream, simply because dreamers are usually written off as people who have this detachment from reality. When you are a dreamer, you have this preoccupation with your preferred future. And most people can't understand the allurement and your intense attraction to more or better. And consequently, they write you off as, out of touch with reality. But they don't understand that when you are a dreamer, you have an awareness about a place, a status, a position in life that does not necessarily appear apparent to anyone else around you. This is why dreamers are usually lonely. They have a very, very small circle because you have to protect your headspace from people who will try to discourage you rather. They will try to create doubt in you that something of that magnitude could happen for somebody like you. But I want to tell you to never give up on dreaming. To many people, they look at you as, again, being detached from reality. You should be more logical. You should have more sense. But they don't understand that there's a deeper sense in you that's pulling you toward a destiny, pulling you toward a destination, pulling you toward a future that most can't grasp and simply cannot wrap their mind around. And because you are a dreamer, many people stop dreaming because they become enemies with time. My dream hadn't come to pass yet, so I'll ditch it. I'll just assume that this is a dash dream. It makes no sense for me to continue in this vein or with this kind of effort, because if it was going to happen, certainly it should have happened by now. But every dreamer who's ever dreamed anything and then saw it come to pass realizes there is a process. There is processing of time. It's in that intermediate time between you actually dreaming and then a dream becomes reality. There is some developmental things that occur. You are developing the degree of maturity to be able to handle the realizing of that dream once you get it. Because it's so big, it's so huge, it's such a large undertaking that there are times you're going to have to pinch yourself and say, I can't believe this has happened. Well, when you are a dreamer, then you have to, dreamers are generally consumed and fully concentrated on the materializing of a dream that they are very clear on, that they don't necessarily need everybody to see it, everybody to believe it, everybody to support it. But they just know that this dream is going to come to pass. And let me say this to you again, do not give up on your dream. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that most people make the mistake of downsizing their dreams or trimming them down or cutting them back into some manageable proportion so that they avoid disappointment or potential embarrassment. And so you even have to watch the people that you're around. If you can't handle me articulating the magnitude of the dream or the vision that I'm seeing, then that is an indication that they're not meant to be a significant factor in the next sequence of your success. You want to be around people that says, well, if you're believing for 2 million, you might as well believe for 4 million. Not somebody who said, well, I'm believing for 2 million. And they said, well, maybe you ought to, start off small, maybe 200,000. No. I have to have people, a support system of people who have forward vision. People who are progressive and aggressive about their future, about their destiny, and about the outcomes of their life. And so to dream, or for that matter to really live, requires at some point that we overcome our own excuses, perceived limitations that confront us as we move toward our destiny and our dreams materializing. Shockingly enough, there are countless numbers of people who hear internally that they should be pursuing their dreams, but most simply ignore them, opting to just settle in for a life of average, mundane existence in their lives. But what's stopping you? This is the question that I want to pose to you. This is the question that I want you to ponder all day today. This is the question that I want you to decide. I'm going to shut down everything today, and I'm going to really give some deliberation and some consideration to this question. What is stopping you from pursuing your dream diligently? Well, there are a few reasons that come to mind as to why you seem to lose your enthusiasm. You seem to lose that drive to pursue your dream. One of the reasons that most people stop pursuing their dreams is oversatisfaction. And I want to tell you that satisfaction is always the enemy of your dream. Some people make the drastic mistake of looking at their lives and concluding that this is good enough. I hope for another day in your life you never come to the point where you articulate, this is good enough. Good enough prevents you from having better, and ultimately from you having the best. You have to decide pretty quickly that good enough is no longer good enough for me. Because people who become overly satisfied, they lose the necessary edge to explore more, to endeavor to experience more, to attempt things that seem to be beyond their comfort zone. And many people, I can't tell you how many people I've counseled who at one point had very lofty dreams, but then they downsized them to fit into some manageable proportion or concept of what they can really have. But I want you to understand that if you're not careful, you can become so attached and engrossed by the life that you currently have that you lose sight on the bigger picture. And let me tell you, the picture can be huge. As a matter of fact, it can be as huge as you want it to be. It can be gigantic, astronomical. But you have to start interrogating yourself and say, what happened? Why was I so geeked and psyched up and pumped at one moment? What happened? That I just became overly satisfied. There was a time I would be bothered if I wasn't at a certain level by now. I hadn't hit any of my mile markers. But somewhere along the line, you've concluded that because I don't have the support I think I need to make it happen, then it can't happen. But let me tell you, the dream that you have, the visions that you have for your life, your children, your future, your business, whatever it is absolutely possible. But you have to stop allowing the satisfied state that you're in now prevent you from being intense. That's really the word, that we lose our intensity because we've settled into a place of satisfaction. We've lost our aggressiveness, that edge. We've lost the will to intentionally forge ahead, but we become satisfied with slow incremental progress. And let me tell you that as long as you are passive, as long as there is this degree of timidity about you concerning your dream, then you're just slowing down your arrival to a destination that you could have reached a year ago, 3 years ago. I'm sure by now you've looked over your life and said, you know what, I could have knocked this out a year ago, 3 years ago. But because you become satisfied in a neutral position, void of intentionally forging ahead, as long as you saw some degree of progress, some slow incremental progress, that was enough to pacify you and satisfy you and say, well, this is good enough. But I want to tell you, you can't allow good enough to stop you from getting to the best place that you have ever been before in your entire life. And so most people stop the pursuit of their dreams simply because they become overly satisfied. There was a time you saw yourself bigger. You saw yourself as more. There was a time you couldn't wait to get up the next day to go back to grinding on your vision and on your dream. And now days have turned into weeks, and weeks have turned into months, and months have turned into years. And for some, years have turned into decades. And so what stops you from diligently pursuing your dream? You become overly satisfied. And generally, ladies and gentlemen, it's this internal visual obstruction that causes us to lack the necessary daily motivation to move forward, right? Because oftentimes you won't have external motivation to keep you on task, to keep you pushing. You're going to have to rely on the intensity of your internal motivation that says, if nobody else is with me, I'm with me, right? Because there are going to be times in your life where you're going to have to be your coach, you're going to have to be your cheerleader, and you're going to have to be your own player. You got to shoot the ball, get up in the stand and cheer for yourself, and then go back on the sideline and call the next play. That's just what it is sometimes. But you can't abort your dreams or your vision simply because you have these internal obstructions, the narratives that play in your mind. Think and say things like, well, who did I think I was anyway? Dreaming this big. Who am I to think and dream and see myself not only owning a house, but owning blocks, parcels, parsonages, multiple sites of land? Who am I to dream that I can be totally out of debt and live a debt-free life and then educate my kids and my family and my whole generation that we're going to live a debt-free life? And so there will always be an intense struggle to keep your priorities straight. And you will, if you listen to that internal obstruction that's trying to discourage you. And so you have to determine pretty quickly at this point in your life that I am not going to allow me being in an overly satisfied position to stop me from getting to the place of overflow that I know is destined for my life. And so why is it that we can't pursue our dreams while we stop pursuing our dreams over satisfaction? The next thing that causes us to stop pursuing our dreams is because we can't see ourselves objectively. Your view of your future is always impaired by the view of the past you. Hear me. Anytime you are determined to move forward, one of the biggest battles that you're going to have is the tugging and the pulling of your past, trying to tell you you're no more than what you were. And you're always going to be who you always were. And people, anytime they want to control you, they generally go back and dig through your past and try to find enough reason to tell you that you can't be what you're endeavoring to be. You have to make up your mind that in spite of what happened in the past, I am forecasting a better future. I'm going to walk into a place of prosperity. I'm getting ready to be in the most productive place that I have ever been in my life. But the reason a lot of people stop focusing and pursuing on their dreams is that lack of focus. A lack of focus on becoming more objective in your life will definitely limit what your mindset can comprehend as a realistic possibility for you. Now I'm going to let that sink in for a moment. When you lack focus, or like I'd like to say, future focus, because you can't keep focusing on your history and do anything historic. Let me say that to you again. You cannot keep focusing on your history and do anything historic in your life. Yes, my past was what it was, but that has no bearing on the extent and the gross weight of what my entire future can look like. I say to people all the time, the rest of your life can be the best of your life, but you got to let go of how involved you are in entertaining things from your past, people from your past, the mentality of your past. You have to be in an environment where your mind is always stimulated, where it's pushed to evolve and to embrace the best that life has to offer you. And so if you lack focus or forward focus, then you'll never be as objective about your life as you need to be. You'll remain in a subjective state, always looking at the negatives about you. Well, I didn't go to school for this, and I dropped out, and I don't have the skill or the experience for this. Well, the reality of the matter is, what you want is out there. You just have to be willing to get it. It's available for you. You have access now to more than you have ever had before in your life. And you got to stop letting the excuses of your past and what you didn't do and what you didn't have and the support system you didn't have stop you from focusing everything in you on the fact that this dream can actually be a reality. And so what is stopping you from pursuing your dreams diligently? I hope by now that your wheels are turning. I hope by now that some of you have started thinking about some of the dreams you let go of because of discouragement, lack of support, lack of belief in yourself. I hope by now you recognize that it's because I've gotten perhaps overly satisfied. It's perhaps because I couldn't see myself objectively. Or maybe it's because of the loss of optimism. Optimism is a mental attitude reflecting a belief or hope that the outcome of a specific endeavor or outcomes in general will be positive, favorable, and desirable, right? So it's the loss of optimism that has caused a great deal of people to shelve some brilliant ideas. Some ideas that could have generated significant income to set you up for life, set your family up for life. But it's the loss of optimism. In the typical sense, it's having an expectation of the best possible result or outcome in any given situation. When you have this optimistic viewpoint about your life, you look at every challenge as a necessary element or episode to get me to the end result I desire. When you're optimistic about life, you don't care. You have a whole different spin on the negative. While everybody else sees the negative as good enough justification to quit, you see the negative as justification to go harder. Because I wouldn't be facing this kind of attack or this kind of struggle if I wasn't on to something. I want to talk to somebody who's watching this day, who's on to something. And you're destined to be somebody greater than you are now. somebody with more influence than you have now, somebody with more money than you have now. You are on to something. Why are you just going to throw it away? Why are you just going to let it go? Because, again, you thought the people that should be supporting you would support you. Okay, move beyond that. The higher you go, the more you have, the more blessed you become in life. You're going to realize that the higher you go, some people are going to drop off of you. Their level of jealousy and envy will not let them proceed with you any further. You have to determine at this stage in your life that I'm going to get up every single day with an optimistic viewpoint. I'm going to look at every negative and spin it into a positive, because the only way your dreams are going to come to pass, because hear me, en route to your dreams, you're going to see enough visually that's going to want to make you quit. It's going to make you want to resign from the notion of you having anything like this. It's going to make you certainly want to jump ship and say, no, this is not for me. But it takes a degree of optimism, again, that has a locked-in focus on the end result that says, I can endure this. I can withstand this. I'm strong. Let me say this for you. You're stronger on the inside than you look to anybody on the outside at any given time. People are wondering why you haven't broken down yet, why you have not literally collapsed and have fallen apart at the seam. It's because, ladies and gentlemen, it's my level of optimism. It's how I choose to see life. It's how I choose to see people in life. I recognize that everything is working for my good. If everything is working for my good, then what looks negative in the natural is actually working more positively. It's having a significantly more positive impact than I can realize at the moment. And so the question is, why aren't you pursuing your dreams diligently? Are your wheels turning yet? Are you questioning yourself yet and say, how in the world did I go from thinking about this every single day to thinking about it every other day, thinking about it every now and then now? There was a time when you had this zeal, this drive for what you wanted out of life, and ladies and gentlemen, because of oversatisfaction and because you couldn't see yourself objectively, and because of a loss of optimism, you have simply decided to let go of the dreams that you've been seeing. So why is it? Why is it? What other reason is there why I have not been pursuing my dream diligently? Here it is. It's because it's overwhelming to you. It appears to be such a huge undertaking that it's difficult to determine what your approach should be. Now, this is critical because every dream I've ever had that produced significant results and increase in my entire life was overwhelming to me. It was overwhelming. But I've lived long enough now to realize that if the dream isn't, you don't get a sense of being overwhelmed by it, then perhaps you're not dreaming big enough yet, right? Because again, most people want to dream, and they dream within the confinements of them being able to cover that dream, just in case it doesn't go the way they thought it was going to go, right? And so at some point, the reason that it has to seem overwhelming is so that your dependence is not on you to bring it to pass, although you do have your part to play in it, because your dream won't come to pass without your participation, your intentionality, your investments. That's the only way it's going to come to pass. But you have to do your part. But it seems overwhelming, but it only seems overwhelming if you are under the impression that you can bring it to pass by yourself. And most people tend to worship their own abilities to make things happen, and that's why it doesn't happen. They say, this is my dream, this is my goal, I'm going to do it by myself. When the reality of it is, if it's really a dream that's going to have long-lasting impact and generate millions in income for you and your family members, then it's something that you cannot do on your own. And so it becomes overwhelming just to keep your ego in check, just so you don't think that you can do it all alone. right? There are assigned and ordained people that will come into your life for that very reason, to play their role in your unveiling of a broader and a better future. But you can't allow being overwhelmed to stop you from pursuing your dream. To be honest with you, if it's not a bit overwhelming and it's not stretching my mind mentally, it's not stretching me emotionally, then I really don't want any parts of it, because it's going to be lackluster at best. But anything that's worth pursuing, it's going to seem overwhelming. And that's only there so that you don't worship your own ability to make things happen, that your ego is in check, that you realize that if this is going to be a reality, then it's going to be a result of connecting with the right people. It's going to be the result of collaborating to bring certain things to pass in my life. But you can't allow the fact that you're overwhelmed right now stop you from pursuing the dream. Settle down. Pace yourself. Put a plan in place. Be diligent enough to execute it. Surround yourself by the right people. Solicit the help and the involvement of the right people with the right motives, with the right agendas to help you. This is where mind sharing comes into place. That my dream is overwhelming. Well, my dream is overwhelming for me as well, because I can't do it by myself. Well, let me play an intricate role in helping you with your dream, and then you reciprocate. You help me facilitate my future by helping me with this dream. And so many people have simply walked away, considered their dream to be too much. It's too much of overtaking. It's too overwhelming. And they've walked away from what was destined to provide them with the kind of future that they have been longing for all of their lives. Again, have you come any closer to any answer yet? What's stopping you from pursuing your dream diligently? The loss of optimism in your life? Could it be that you're not seeing yourself objectively? Or could it be you've allowed people to convince you that you're a victim of an overactive imagination? Could it be that you've allowed people to convince you that this is not valid, the vision you're seeing is not valid, it has no merit, it's certainly not logical for you at this time in this space? Could it be you have allowed people to convince you that you are a victim of an overactive imagination? That, you're just conjuring this up, and nobody like you has ever done anything like this. In fact, nobody in your family has ever done anything like this. In fact, you don't even know anybody who's ever done anything like this. But sometimes dreams that God implants in your heart and in your spirit, he will give you a dream that you have no point of reference to, just to see if your reliance will be on him to guide you and to direct you into the place to see that vision realized. But you've allowed people who have no dream to convince you that's just an overactive imagination. You grew up here all of your life. You've never lived in anything bigger than a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, but yet you have a vision for a 6-bedroom, 5-bedroom house. You're just a victim of your own imagination. But I want to tell you, you can't allow anybody to impose their fear on your imagination. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, imagination is where your future is first viewed at. It's within the confines of my imagination that I get the glimpse of a future status, of a future state, of future positions that I'm predestined to occupy. But if you're not careful, you will allow people to impose their fear upon your imagination. And watch this, you will start dreaming according to your current budget. You only believe according to what you presently have. But if you're going to move into new dimensions and new phases of life, hear me, you have to dream beyond your current budget. You can give no credence to where you are financially now. You have to dream beyond your current budget. You have to believe that there is more out there for you. There is more in store for you, and that you are not a victim of an overactive imagination. Here's what I know. Most people's imagination are underactive. They barely allow themselves to entertain anything outside of their comfort zone. They don't give themselves permission to explore more. They don't grant themselves the space and the opportunity to view life from a broader vantage point and a broader perspective. Let me just say this to you, ladies and gentlemen. You will never live or have success beyond your level of exposure. You need to be exposed to more, because when you see more, you'll want more. The only reason most people don't want more is because they are limited to the scope of their environment that they're in. They're limited to the places that they've always been, that they're familiar with, that they've always known about. But your life will be no more expansive than what it is you're exposed to. That's why you have to purposely expose yourself to people that can feed your spirit, that can feed your mind, that can feed your imagination, that can fuel your faith, so that you can believe that anything is possible for you, because you're on to something. I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm telling you, you're on to something. But that something will never manifest as long as you keep starting the dream, stopping it, pursuing the vision, stopping the vision, starting the vision, stopping the vision. You have to pursue it diligently. Why aren't you pursuing your dream diligently? It might be because of the fear of objection from people you've determined whose validation you need. Some people discount themselves, discard the notion that they can be anything but what they've always been, because they fear the objection of people who they determine whose validation they need. I want to tell you that you have the right to overrule any objection that anybody has. I don't care who it is. Mama, daddy, sister, brother, friend, whoever it is. Don't just fear the objection of people who you think you have to be validated by in order for your vision to become a reality. You have the power, you have the right. In fact, you would do yourself a grave disservice if you don't start overruling their objections. Maybe you don't need their validation. Maybe you just need to start pursuing that dream with everything you got. Let me tell you, you have enough of what it takes to take everything you want. I'm telling you this because I feel like somebody's on the cusp of letting their dreams die because you're fearing being objected by people you think you need validation for. But let me tell you, if you have to be small in somebody's eyes in order for them to accept you or appreciate you, then you need to make an exit right now. Because I'm telling you that there are people who are cheering for you. There are people who are pushing for you behind the scenes. There are people you don't even know that are pushing for you, that are cheering for you, that are rooting for you. Let me go on record and say this day, I'm rooting for you. I'm cheering for you. And I want to see you go as far as you can go in this life. I am declaring to you this day that if you would start pursuing those dreams diligently again, pick up that notebook again, start writing that book, pick up those sketches you had, start drawing out those clothes, start getting back to who you are and what you know you have the capacity to do. My question to you is though, why have you stopped pursuing? What's stopping you from pursuing those dreams diligently? And I covered some of the reasons today, but there are a lot more. I may come back and do a second installment to this session. But I want you to know there is nothing impossible for you. There is nothing off the table for you. You got the goods. Let me look you in your eye and tell you, you have the goods. You just have to take those goods and turn them into something great. Well, it's time to bless the Lord in our giving. That's right. It's our global giving opportunity. That means people just like you from all over the country, around the world, different zip codes, area codes, they take this opportunity to plant seed in the ground, and they know without a doubt that a supernatural harvest It's going to be their portion. Those of you who are tithing on this day, I want you to return the Lord's tithe. It's simply a tenth of everything that the Lord allows to come through your hand, and you return it back to him so that the windows of heaven are opened over your life. So those of you who are tithing, I want you to do that this day. The giving means are right here at the bottom of the screen. Find the one that's the most convenient for you. Take advantage of it. Everyone else, I want you to strive this day to sow at least a $42 faith seed offering in this service today. I want you to believe that this seed is going to trigger supernatural financial favor in your life, in your business, in the lives of those that you are connected to. So I want you to plant that. You say, Bishop, well, I don't have that $42 seed. Well, I want you to get the best seed that you have, but I want you to put something in the ground this day. God's going to honor it, and God's going to cause increase to show up in your life like never before. Keep on giving. Well, I'm out of time for this session. Listen, do me a favor. Share this video with as many people as you can. Make sure you tell all your family members, friends, co-workers, they need to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to go to my website, www.henrybolden.com. There's tons of resources there that I think will benefit you. I've got some brand new resources that are coming out in just a little bit that I want you to be able to take advantage of, right? Go to my website. You can send comments, questions, emails, concern. I see them. I'm reading all of your comments, all of the questions that you send me, and I'm doing my best to address them, to provide you with the information you need in this season of your life. Always remember, success has a formula, and I want to be the one that shows it to you. I'll see you next time.